This may come as a shock, but I love playing video games. And considering you're here watching my videos, I'm gonna make the assumption that you do too. Or my voice is just that sexy to you. But one thing I like just as much as playing video games is not spending any money. So I decided that I'm going to try out a bunch of free Steam games and give you my thoughts on them. Cryptis is a Doom and Quake inspired run and gun shooter with a retro art style. You go through levels that are sectioned off by large walls that shoot up from the ground. To progress, you have to kill a few waves of enemies until you get to the end where you fight Cryptis himself. The retro art style was super cool to me. The guns, arenas, and enemies were all stylized to fit the retro aesthetic. It felt like a 90s arcade game, and the guns were all modeled after World War II weapons, which gave it a Nazi zombies feel. Now this works well, at least in my mind. I'm a zoomer, so I wasn't around in the heyday of retro shooters like Doom and Quake, but I was around for COD World at War. You got these headless archers, werewolves, Burning Man, liches, and then Cryptis himself. Each fits the aesthetic and has their own aura, which gives it a retro arcade feel. While the setting idea is pretty basic, the arenas you fight in are visually appealing, especially the graveyard and cathedral sections. Honestly, it felt like I was transported back to the 3rd grade playing House of the Dead at a friend's birthday party while we waited for our turn at laser tag. Also, side note, why aren't adult birthday parties fun like that? No, I don't want to go to the club for my birthday. I want to go bowling, play laser tag, and have a sleepover with all my friends. This game wears its Quake and Doom influence on its sleeve with a run and gun fast-paced style of play. I played this game at default difficulty, and there was only one section where I died, but we'll get to that later. This game is easy. The enemies have to be in a static position in order to attack, so even though the werewolves close the distance pretty quick, they have a slow attack tail that gives you ample time to fire off a shot or move out of the way. That's not to say that I went through this game not getting hit. I did, but it was mainly from not paying attention and having one of them sneak up on me. Like I said before, the weapons are cool to look at, and I appreciate how the shotgun actually functions at far ranges too. It's obviously not as effective from a distance, but up until the end I pretty much exclusively used it. Which leads into a bit of a complaint I have about the game. The fun of games like Doom is the amount of weapons that you get and switching them up to suit the situation better or to conserve ammo on your more powerful weapons. In this game, you never run out ammo. And that doesn't mean like you have so many ammo drops that makes it so you're always flush with ammo. I mean you literally never run out of ammo. This makes the pistol you get at the beginning of the game obsolete as soon as the shotgun is introduced, and the sword is just laughable. I mentioned earlier in this section I didn't go through the game with 0 deaths. I actually died a couple times, but every time it was in the final fight with Cryptis. And all but twice was because I fell off the fucking arena. Your movement in this game is pretty floaty, so sometimes it was hard to tell where you're stepping. I fell off the ledge a couple of times trying to get away from Cryptis because despite how lackluster the enemies were leading up to him, Cryptis hit like a truck. The other time I died was from getting stuck on a wall and gave up. I only had one legit enemy death the whole game. This game took me just under half an hour. Literally. 29 minutes. Which is short, but I think is the perfect length for a game like this. There's not many guns, you pretty much see every enemy you'll be facing after the 3rd level, and the gameplay gets pretty repetitive. So the game is just long enough to have fun, enjoy the art style, and go on a power trip, but it knows when it's time to end. It's just the right length where you enjoy the game and it ends before you get bored of it. So I'd say the half-hour time limit is perfect. I genuinely enjoyed this game. I'm a big fan of the retro art style, and I enjoy how short it is. It kind of gives the feeling of an arcade shooter where you can pick it up and finish in one sitting. The game is simplistic and easy, which can be a turnoff, and I'll admit that I don't like the infinite ammo. But for a free game that's designed to be a one-off power trip shoot 'em up, all those perceived negatives become positives. If I had a rough day at work and just want to turn off my brain, kill some spooky retro monsters, and feel the accomplishment of finishing a game, I'm playing Cryptis. If you have any interest at all, I'd recommend downloading it. Barely any time commitment, and it only costs storage space. Dungeon Mage is a top-down 2D game where you're a mage that is, you guessed it, in a dungeon. The main bulk of the game is going through a portal where you are sent through 3 rooms that cycle through a few presets every time you enter. Here you gather materials and kill enemies and are sent back after you pass the third room. This door is free to enter, but this one you have to pay a toll.
Troll toll!
The goal of this game is to gather these little wisp thingies that you get by killing enemies or sacrificing materials to the statue. This game also has a retro feel to it mixed with Flash games. It has a really fun pixel art, but it also has an actual satanic, or as I wrote in my script, Santanic, statue where you can sacrifice your worldly possessions to gain souls that you use as currency. That's the big draw of this game, I think. It's kind of what makes Cult of the Lamb so popular. It's a perfect mix between cute and creepy. So this is an endless dungeon diver where you go through one of two doors. The first one is like baby's first dungeon dive, and the other, not so much. At least at first. I was kind of lulled into a false sense of security when I first started playing, thinking the second door would be a little harder but not too bad, and I died in the first room. And then I had a little bit of gamer rage when I realized I had to run through the first doors a bunch more times in order to have enough money to attempt the second portal again. I have mixed feelings about this, because on one hand it artificially extends the playtime and keeps you locked out of the more powerful stuff from the second portal. So you have to grind through playing the same couple of rooms over and over again until you have enough gear and money to try again, which gets annoying fairly quickly. On the other hand, it's a free indie game, and after a while of grinding and getting used to the game, you'll be going through that second door more frequently. The controls are left click to attack, right click to dash, WSD to move, and E to activate. The dash, at least for my tiny brain, took a little time to understand, but it helps the action feel fast and lively. What doesn't make the action feel fast is the cooldown for attacks. I don't have an inherent problem with having attack cooldowns, but I think in this game they're a bit too long and it kind of breaks combat down into almost a turn-based system. Like you hit an enemy, then run away as you wait for the cooldown and the enemy to do their attack, then you hit them again during their cooldown. This is really apparent with the spear. The cooldown is so long that I tried to craft a second one so I could switch it up while the first one was warming up, but the cooldown transfers over, so eventually I left it in a cave so I could pick up a skull. One last point I want to make about the gameplay is nothing really gets explained to you. Like there's a crafting table where you can upgrade your weapons and make new items. Just for a quality of life thing, I would have liked to see at least a list of things I can make. Even if I have to figure out how to make it, being aware of the different potions and items I can make would have helped. Like I said before, this game is an endless dungeon dive, so the game only ends when you lose interest. I will say for my part, I could only play this game for an hour max in one sitting until I started to get bored with how repetitive the dungeons get. But I also found myself wanting to come back the next day. So it's good for when you want to have a quick session, but don't want something like Cryptus that's fully done after one play session. Dungeon Mage is a charming, endless dungeon dive that I overall enjoyed playing. The music and art is the right mix of creepy and cute. Also, there's a secret room where you find a tribute to what I assume is the developer and their partner, and I'd be lying if I say I didn't ugly cry when I saw it. I would recommend you pick up this game if you're like me and sometimes only have like half an hour to play. It's fun in short bursts, and I will be continuing to play it after this video because I know there's still parts that I haven't discovered yet. Bird Gut is a game where you're a deformed bee who gets eaten by a bird that has a whole society inside and is actually a machine, and the bird eats bugs in order to brainwash and enslave them to work on the machinery. As you descend into the depths of this dystopian nightmare of a world, which again is inside of a bird, you find that you are a mythical chosen one who couldn't get brainwashed. So you're tasked with going into the secret bomb chamber that every bird has and launching nukes. So needless to say, this is my new favorite game and I will happily die on this hill. Oh, and I should mention, this was made by one person. The visuals of this game are charming and very fun to look at. Everything is hand-drawn and is oozing with personality. Everything from the character design to the platforms to this little gun hat you get at the end of the game is just so quirky and whimsical. Like, look at this little dude in his little gun hat. What a cutie. It's just so fun and I cannot say enough good things about it. This is a 2D side-scrolling platformer. Use A and D to move left and right, S to drop down from some platforms, and space to jump. It felt okay to play, but honestly, I don't think platformers should be played on mouse and key anyway. I just don't have a controller to connect to my PC, so I made do. That's not a knock on this game though. Platformers are the only, and I mean only, game that isn't better on mouse and key. There's sections where you control a crane, and at the end you get a gun which is controlled by the mouse. The platforming in this game is a lot of fun, and in some sections, is the exact opposite. Now it could be because I'm dookie at video games, but there's some parts that I may or may not have rage quit because I kept dying over and over again. And the small intestines were the closest thing to a nightmare come to life when I played through it. I get lost so easily, even to places I've gone before. So trying to navigate a maze with multiple elevators and not many landmarks, I could feel my brain melting in real time. But outside of a few sections, even the hard parts were enjoyable. Even the boss fight at the end. Yes, this game has a section at the end where you are fighting hordes of all the enemy bugs you faced through the last level, then a giant mantis. Truly, this game has it all. This game took me a couple of hours to finish, which I think is the perfect amount of time for a game like this. If you go through the game and aren't looking for the secrets and aren't directionally challenged like I am, you could probably beat it in like an hour and a half tops. You're there long enough to have fun with the gameplay and enjoy the art style, but it ends just before you get sick of it. Bird Gut is such a fun and lighthearted game that actually has some challenging sections. There's a lot of fun to be had. While it's not as involved as some other games, or even some platformers, for a short and fun experience, I would recommend giving it a try. Even though I finished the game, this is one that I'm probably going to go back to and have some of my friends try it as well. I absolutely adore this game and I cannot recommend it enough. Well, that's been 3 free Steam games. Honestly, I would recommend giving all these games a try. They're short, fun, and stylized experiences that I think anyone would enjoy. I know I certainly did. If you have any free games that you've found on Steam for me to try, please let me know. I love trying new games, especially by indie developers. Anyway, thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. This has been Red Handed Gaming. Stay safe, and God bless.